This is Kate and the Library Whispers. It's coffee time, and it's also time to read through the second part of this lovely National Trust magazine from summer 2024. So first things first, this is a caramel latte, Cetacimo caramel latte, and it's also a Costa coffee. So let's have a taste. Yeah, yummy. In fact, let's have two tastes. Very nice. So last time we had a look through, about halfway I think we were, and we read this article on coming up roses. And if you missed that video, I'll put the link in the description of this video. So let's see where we up to. Down here somewhere. Bit further. Right, so that was the article on roses, which ended there. So this next article, it's called A Grand Adventure. It says, from the Shetland Islands to Land's End, the UK is full of wonderful places to discover. Plan your explorations and pick up fun facts with the help of the new Grand Adventure Map, which I think is on the back here, or at least part of it is. Calling old Carter files. That must be what people who enjoy maps are called. Explorers and people who like ticking things off a big list. The Grand Adventure Map is for you. It's small enough to fit onto a bookshelf when folded down, but open it out and you'll discover a full-size, double-sided and beautifully illustrated map of every National Trust and National Trust for Scotland location, brought together in one place for the first time, alongside historic houses, glorious gardens and scenic countryside to inspire your next trip. Perhaps you'll be entertained by some Trust trivia. You could find out about Trust places that have been used as filming locations, plan a visit to one of the UK's top spots for stargazing, or see the desks where famous literary figures once daydreamed and occasionally did some writing. There are even suggestions for special expeditions and diversions along the way, including steam train rides, boat trips and walking trails. The map also features regional foods and a tick list of every National Trust and National Trust for Scotland place, so you can mark them off as you go. That's the kind of thing that I do. So, I think on the next page are some highlights from this map. So let's have a look. So, there we have, I can't get it onto the whole video, but at the bottom and at the top is map of England, Wales, Scotland and stately homes and their guests. Speakhall's modern maze continues the tradition, popular with visiting children and adults alike. It boasts 6 routes, with 5 bridges, 12 gates and a lookout tower. And from the northwestern area, you should try Manchester tart, a school dinner staple for generations of Mancunians. But there is, I think it's a kind of cake that they do sell, or at least they used to sell at Speakhall, and I think it was called a wet Nelly, something like that. I may have completely got that wrong, but if you know what I'm talking about, tell me in the comments. Okay, number 4 is Fountains Abbey and Studley Royal in Yorkshire. The picturesque remains of this medieval abbey are no stranger to the silver screen, with credits including The History Boys 2006, Death Comes to Pemberley 2013 and The Witcher 2019. The ruins also featured in the 2020 adaptation of The Secret Garden. And let's see, a suggestion of food is a fat rascal. The use of rascal to mean cake may come from Shakespearean Henry IV, Part 2. I didn't know that. And then number 5 course, in East Yorkshire, the Hull patty butty. The workers who made patties in Hull's factories were known as patty slappers. Okay. And then we have the Melton Mowbray pot pie, best eaten cold with pickled onions and cabbage. We've got Stilton cheese, must be made in Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire or Leicestershire. And then of course we've got cheddar, was to become a top-level government administrator, an early form of civil servant, overseeing business in Britain's colonies and military campaigns. An efficient and effective manager, Blathwayt was a natural professional, making him indispensable to both James II and William III. We don't know much of Blathwayt's character, but the diarist John Evelyn recorded his impression in his diary on the 18th of June 1687. He is a very proper, handsome person, very dexterous in business, and has besides all this married a very great fortune. Well, that's handy. Let's have a bit more coffee. Blathwayt inherited the Dyrham estate near Bath in 1689 through his marriage to Mary Windsor, who came from a prominent local family. He immediately set about making it his own. Mary died just 2 years later. Gosh. But Blathwayt's work on Dyrham continued. Between 1692 and 1704, he rebuilt, decorated and furnished the house, and re-landscaped the gardens with parterres and elaborate water features. It was a big job, costing around £10,000, several million in today's money. atrocities of slavery. The presence of these stands can provoke strong emotions. The Dyrham curatorial team worked with local community groups and the Jamaica National Heritage Trust to decide how best to display them. They currently stand in their historic context in the balcony room. I think this is one of the statues. Alongside information about their history and a reflection on their significance from Trinidadian poet Andre Bagu. Although he never travelled to North America, Blathwaite's career often took him to the Netherlands and Flanders, Belgium. He had spent his early career working at the English Embassy in The Hague, where he learned to speak Dutch and developed a passion for the Dutch art and architecture he encountered. It was likely here that he first met William of Orange, who went on to become William III of England. There are plenty of clues to his Dutch tastes, in particular at Durham Park. The house is built in the style favoured by Dutch-born monarch William III, and as a statement of his loyalty to him, a large greenhouse to cultivate orange trees was built to the southeast of the house. Okay, let's have a bit more coffee. One of the highlights of Durham's collection is a view through a house by Dutch painter Samuel van Hoogstraten. Hoogstraten conjures up a three-dimensional space as if looking into a long corridor. I wonder if that's the picture there. I think it might be. Yeah. There's an array of curious objects to ponder within, including a love letter on the stairs and a caged bird, set free. It's easy to imagine Blathwaite bringing his guests here, delighting in their surprise and shock at this trompe l'oeil or trick of the eye painting. Blathwaite filled his rooms with blue and white Delftware, a type of pottery made in Delft, Holland, which became popular in the 17th century due to dynastic instability in China. At the time, the export of porcelain came to a virtual halt for more than 3 decades, and seeing a gap in the market, Dutch potters set out to imitate it. The result, which so delighted Blathwaite, is a hybrid of Dutch and Chinese influence, particularly the extravagant flower vases, also known as flower pyramids. The vases have graduated tiers to contain water, with individual spouts displaying exotic cut flowers. In the centuries following Blathwaite's death in 1717, the house faced a gradual decline. The gardens were neglected, the original vision for the house chopped and changed, and many objects were sold off, although much of its 17th century form remained. Finally, in 1956, I think that's the vases there. The Ministry of Works purchased Dyrham through the National Land Fund as a memorial to those who lost their lives in the Second World War. It was transferred into trust care in 1961. Following a major re-roofing project in 2015, the team here has been returning Dyrham's interiors to their 17th century glory with support of the Royal Oak Foundation, Wolfson Foundation, David Webster Charitable Trust, Medlock Charitable Trust and DCMS Cultural This is an article which says the countryside made me who I am. Matt Baker. I think he used to be on the One Show on the BBC. Beach life. So this is different beaches in the UK. Ainsley's National Trust Cook-Off. Let's see what things we have. I'm hoping there might be some recipes. Oh yes, here we go. So that is called the National Trust Brunch. That looks like it's got potatoes, bacon, tomatoes, eggs. Looks nice. And then there is maple griddled apple, fennel and prosciutto salad, which I think is that one down there. That looks nice. Now just for you, sneak peeks, prizes to win and ideas for ways to make the most of your membership this summer. Different things to do. Golden Hour landscapes. Oh, there is a bakery recipe. How to bake rose, white chocolate and raspberry blondies. Ooh. And there's a crossword. The writing's very tiny. I think you got to know lots about the National Trust properties to be able to finish this. I don't think I know enough about them. Oh, and there is crosswords.